Greetings all, D&Disability here, coming at you with a short video. Today we are continuing with my master's thesis work discussing what RPGs do for us as disabled players and really what they do for the community at large. Remember, it's not so much that the effects that I'm speaking about, in today's instance, agency, affect only disabled persons. It's that the effect is felt more so by the disabled player community. So, if you'll indulge me, the battlefield has been chosen, the pieces are gathering, knights are assembling, at the center of this whirling chaos is the monarch, and disabled players become their own monarchs of narrative as they proverbially take the field against their imagined foes. Figures such as Campbell, Cover, Crago, and Janssen have utilized agency, that is to say, the enactment of the will of the participant, in their studies of literary fiction, imagery, myth-making, and game studies. While central to their arguments, agency as a term has not been refined to fit the frame of tabletop role-playing games, and has largely been taken at face value. Figures such as Cover have specified agency as defined as, and I quote, defines the matters of cultural production, end quote, which adds to Carr by requiring that, and I quote, players must shape the system itself, end quote, for them to have agency. Agency can be understood to be the players shaping the game rules, while the player is A, enacting or exerting power through virtual / imaginary means of the game or in the game world, and B, enacting a sense of social power from being a DM and having control over characters, the narrative, being the first among equals at the game table, or C, as a separate corporeal body for the character in the game, dictating their actions, influencing the actions of others, the achieving of goals through the proxy of their character. So with these three levels, we have the power over the game world, either as a DM or as a player. Agency comes in several forms, playing and achieving the gamified feeling of power, influence, and advancement as a player with your character. Agency through social interaction as a player at the table with other players, and agency from sharing narratives of events in the post. In other words, in, like, telling a story. That is, agency gained from sharing stories of previous events. While hardly exhaustive, this serves as a basis for agency within this study. Agency functions on multiple levels simultaneously, both formal and actual, and are central to understanding the disabled player experience. Agency begins to encapsulate what RPGs do for players. Or, put another way, agency is generated and enacted by disabled players through their experiences, both in and out of game. So now with the definitions out of the way, agency can honestly be as simple as players getting together at a table. One of my players, Ren, quote, has back-related disorders as well as PTSD, and, quote, I'm hard of hearing, end quote, and has her character press her ear to a wooden door. She hears the low conversation of two cultists plotting the end of the world. The other players at the table lean in to listen while the DM explains to Ren what her character hears. This is the style of play Ren is referring to when she says, and I quote, you have to fight a dragon or a horde of evil sorcerers or, just make ends meet in the world, but you're doing that on your own terms, end quote. Ren tells the party about the conversation, and the party kicks in the door of the room, defeats the cultists, and the game world is saved. This is an act of representative agency. Ren, through her character, was able to hear things she normally would no longer be able to, and also fight like she no longer can. She made the choice to inform the party. The players were privy to the details of the conversation outside the game, but whose characters inside the game were not, and shared what important details there were about their plot. The party, as a whole, achieved its goals by defeating the cultists and effectively thus achieved in-game agency. However, in telling their story, Ren also achieves agency. She's shared that moment of success, control, empowerment with others, demonstrating her own worth as a player and gaining social standing with other players. And I quote, players playing D&D Shadowrun, or whatever, you have agency over all that, and you do everything on your own terms. End quote. So agency for some manifests in a more material form. Mike, a successful game developer, game module writer, is one example of this form of agency within the disabled player community. In his words, Mike's experiences with RPGs, quote, led me in the late 2000s to getting some of my work published through some companies, end quote. Despite the difficulties in his blindness, Mike manages to enjoy the game and find accomplishment in adding to it with his own content. While the work may not intersect with disabilities in content, the achievement of multiple publications despite Mike's disability is noteworthy. While not everyone who plays RPGs can get published, the inspiration to create personalized content is instilled from the very beginning of play. For those with limitations like Mike and other disabled D&D players, creative expression is just as important and represents more than just a publication. It's a reclamation, an expression of love for a game, an intersection with the countless non-disabled publishers, coupled with the pride of having overcome their specific challenges that are unique to each disability. However, Mike's experiences are not without difficulty. As a player, he faces the challenges that come from not seeing a map or a board, or often finds himself limited to playing more basic characters to compensate for his disability. However, he embraces this limitation, end quote, and that's another reason I like old school gaming, because you can just play a fighter that rolls to hit, end quote. And was his response after sharing his frustrations and struggles with complex options and mental map making. Map making, on the DM side, is also a struggle that Mike embraces rather than shuns. And I quote, "The beauty of being a DM is you can roll with that, and you can go, all right, well, I'll just flip the map. Okay, yeah, that is, all right, the quarter you're in, and go from there," end quote. As a DM, Mike can flip the map around if he gets confused or accidentally tells the players they enter a chapel room when it should have been a torture chamber. For Mike, the solution is easy. Swap locations of the hypothetical chapel and torture chamber and call it good. Agency, for Mike as a DM, is the empowerment to interact with the game in ways that work for him and do not conflict with the play experience of others, the level of intersection becoming a common theme among participants in the study. Flexibility and achievement are not the only facets of agency at the gaming table. For others, the achievement comes from something as simple as escapism and social interaction. RPGs provide the means for people like Zoe to embrace the, and I quote, experience of being able to interact with the world, with a world made by friends that's more interesting than the situation I'm in right now. It's refreshing to be able to do things, end quote. For Zoe and its Chisholm dyspraxia and the other memory problems they have, the struggle is often interaction with the game and retaining enough information to play it. While RPGs provide a set of challenges for Zoe, they give it the ability to escape a world created within, and I quote, D&D 5th edition, while playing in a small group with disabled people, end quote. Zoe sees TTRPGs as a world built by disabled players for disabled players, one where escapism plays a greater role than has heretofore been considered. And I quote, "My social contacts and making friends with other disabled people, because there's a great deal of desire for escapism in the disabled community, and, surprise, a RPG is where you can make anything happen or a great place for escapism," end quote. The emphasis for Zoe is on its small group, its friends who are also disabled players who work together to create an escape. Zoe achieves agency through the social construction of an alternate reality where it and its friends can make anything happen. All right. Thanks for making it to the end, guys. This has been my discussion of agency. There's definitely a lot more to unpack here. There's a lot more I could say, but I think I'll leave it at that for the time being. As always, like, share, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I'll be back next week with a video on playing monstrous characters and really how DMs can play monsters in a fun and more exciting way than relying on disability tropes. And of course, I will have the next section of this series out as well. All right, take it easy.